Deputy, what would be your message to a voter who is watching this who might be slightly more right-leaning than Aontú and who would think that the immigration policy laid out here is not sufficiently strong or not sufficiently different to what some of the government parties are offering, because they've used this language of sustainable, firm but fair? This sort of terminology is what we've heard from many of the parties now. What would be your message to a voter who thought, I'm not going to vote for Aontú, or I am disinclined to vote for Aontú because I don't think it's tough enough for this individual's liking, hypothetically?
Yeah, so the first thing we'll say is, like many issues, whether it's the referendums gone by, whether it's issues like hate speech, whether it's the carbon taxes, for example, Aontú has actually been the sole political party in Leinster House that has represented a view which in the main is probably the majority view within the state. And I think that is one of the most really important contributions that we have made in the country in the last while, that a party with one TD, with 8 councillors, has actually in many areas made a cogent intellectual point on these issues, which has actually made a significant impact on the direction of the country. And I am absolutely proud that we as a small party have been able to do that. And the point I would say is, imagine if we had not just one Aontú TD, that we had 8, 9, 10 Aontú TDs in here, the significant change that would be. First of all, I would say most of the information that we're dealing with here was information that no other political party sought. No other political party sought. Despite the fact that we know that the majority of individuals are probably on the same page as Aontú's position on this issue, no other political party sought that. And we, I think that's a really important addition we've made to the political discourse in this country in the last while. Also, I think that our policies are actually practically implementable. And there are many micro-organisations and even independents at the moment who are full of rhetoric, which is not practical. And also, we'll say this as well. We have our pluralist republicanism is important to us, and we're not going to stray into a situation whereby people who are legally living in this country have their lives negatively influenced. We have members of our party, people of colour, who will tell you that at bus stops at the moment, they're being told to F off back home to their own countries, and we will not participate in any debate or discussion that makes people who are rightly here in this country feel any less belonging to this country. And that's a really important part of what we're about.
So would you say then that Aontú's approach to the migration issue is more practical and implementable than, say, Independent Ireland or some of the other parties that you referenced that are on the political right?
Yeah, so in terms of Independent Ireland, I'm not sure if Independent Ireland, first of all, have a whip on this issue. So in reality, according to their own party structure, they have multiple perspectives on this particular issue. So that's the first thing. Secondly, I would ask them, how come they haven't mined this level of information from government over the last while? They have more TDs than us. We have provided far more information in this process. We've worked harder in a far more structured fashion. And this is really important. Aontú is by far the best organised opposition to the government damage, I believe, across the country. The best organised. In many constituencies, and we are, and this is important too, in the last European poll, Aontú outpolled the Soc Dems, the Labour Party, and People Before Profit. And a point that many people haven't really copped onto yet, unfortunately. This election, I believe, will see a crystallisation of those votes in seats, which is going to be significant. In many constituencies, and of all 4 candidates here, the last seat is between the Aontú candidate and the government seat. The last seat. And I would say to people who maybe are interested in those individuals, if you scatter your vote far too thinly over candidates, you won't get the results you need. You need to concentrate your vote on an organised, able organisation such as Aontú.